Underneath the Tree. It's Underneath the Tree by Kelly Clarkson from her Christmas album. The other really good one I like from that is Wrapped in Red. It is Christmas time. It is December 7th. So 18 days until Christmas. It is also Pearl Harbor Day. 1941, December 7th, 1941. The United States was attacked by the Japanese, which brought us into World War II. So today is the remembrance of that as well. And we have a brand new episode of Dylan Knows. I have to make a quick announcement. Last week's episode was called The Cal Matrix, and I did not realize until right before I was going to post the episode on Sunday that I even forgot to talk about the Cal Matrix story that the episode was named after. So guess I'll just go ahead and do that in this episode. So that'll be the first story I do today. But we'll be talking about the Cal Matrix for real this time. The name of the episode is Trailer Dumps. This is because I think I named an episode earlier in my tenure here, Trailer Trash, which is what I was originally going to call it, but I figured Trailer Dumps is going to be good. Ton of trailers came out this week, a couple of teaser trailers for stuff that's going to be coming out tomorrow. So there's going to be some big trailers coming out next week, which I'll talk about on the show next week. I have not seen The Mandalorian Chapter 5 yet, so I will not be doing a review of it this week. Next week's going to be kind of interesting because this Thursday, December 12th, is my daughter's 13th birthday. She will be officially a teenager on Thursday. So her birthday party is going to be on Saturday the 14th, and she's going to have a sleepover. So we'll wait and see how that all works out. I might not end up doing this show until Sunday because the Ravens are also playing on Thursday. They're playing tomorrow against the Buffalo Bills, and then they're playing their Thursday night game at home against the Jets. So the Ravens will not be playing on Sunday. So I think what I might do is I might just shift next week's show to Sunday the 15th. So we'll do that probably, which would be 10 days to Christmas, which God seems like so quick, because just think about it, after this, by next weekend, there'll only be 10 days left until Christmas. That just boggles your mind. And this week is also crazy because Wednesday is my son's winter concert. He plays the trumpet and he'll sing. So we're going to see that. It's also Friday the 13th. Is also coming up, and there'll be a full moon a couple days before Friday the 13th, but there'll be a full moon this week as well. And I don't know what else is going on. We'll talk about some of the trailers that'll be coming out this week as well, and then we'll also be talking about some of the regular trailers that came out this week as well. We'll talk a little bit about the Baby Yoda merch that's coming. We'll talk about anniversaries, Beverly Hills Cop, National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, Popeye, Flash Gordon all have anniversaries this week. So we'll talk about those as well. A work of art that left me scratching my head sold for $120,000. More Baby Yoda stuff. What else we got here? Krampus, Knocked was earlier this week. We'll talk a little bit about that as well. Adam Sandler's in the news this week. We'll do some holiday alcoholic beverages. French fry shortages coming up. Her closet. Okay. A interesting story of a connection between a doctor and his patient. Masturbation is good for your health, as is letting your kids curse. We're going to talk about that as well. A man in black was spotted on the banks of the Loch Ness. We don't know what that's about. And Kansas City became the first city to do something extraordinary. And a young boy invites his entire class to see his adoption hearing. We got a whole bunch of other stories as well. Gaming stuff for the holidays. What the president of Brazil said. And we're going to start with the Cal Matrix, which is what was the story I was supposed to begin with last week, but I forgot all about it when I got into my rant mode last week. So the Cow Matrix was actually a story that came out 2 weeks ago and should have been in last week's episode, but here we go. A Moscow farmer equips his cows, he's a farmer, his cows, with VR glasses, virtual reality glasses, in order to relax them and make them feel happier. This in turn has yielded more milk from his cows, so apparently is working. So that is the story that I wanted to talk about last week, and I forgot all about it. So I find it kind of interesting, but it sort of makes sense, I guess, just the fact that they came up with a virtual reality for cows to make them feel more comfortable, and in turn, it worked. It made them yield more milk, so good for them. The president of Brazil, who I just teased a few seconds ago, blames actor Leonardo DiCaprio. You know Leo. Everybody knows Leo. For setting fires to the Amazon rainforest. Remember, we had those fires in the Amazon rainforest that are still technically going on. Well, the Brazilian president is blaming Leonardo DiCaprio for being one of the guys who set fire to the Amazon rainforest, which to me is kind of ridiculous because that is exactly the opposite of what Leonardo DiCaprio does. He is a guy who tries his best to help out people, and it starts foundations and stuff like that. He's also big into ecology and the environment, and you would think that someone like that would not set fire to the Amazon rainforest. Plus, why would he do it? Who knows? This is stupid people. A 65-year-old Maine man who had outfitted his home with a device designed for a handgun. So he designed a device that had his handgun would open fire on anyone who opens his front door. Now, first and foremost, I have an issue with that because, so anybody walking, you would have to dismantle it in order to let your family and friends in. But you're thinking that robbers would come through the front door, and if you kept it up, that would shoot them and possibly kill them in the end. Well, apparently what ended up happening was on Thanksgiving night, the guy was coming home, and I guess he forgot to undo his device, and the gun shot him and killed him. So I would probably recommend that you do not create a device that points a handgun at your door that goes off whenever someone opens the front door, because accidents do happen, and in this case did happen. Just mind-boggling, crazy things that I cannot understand why people would do that. Baby Yoda is the biggest star now. As I said, I have not caught The Mandalorian chapter 5 yet. Maybe tomorrow, maybe not till next week sometime, but I'll get it eventually. But so I don't have a review of it this week. I did, however, get my family to watch the first 2 episodes, so I've got them hooked on it. So we'll catch the other ones eventually. So maybe we'll make it a family thing. We'll sit down and we'll watch them all. But this week is just crazy. So Monday is CCD, Tuesday is Scouts, Wednesday is the concert, Thursday is Noelle's birthday party, Friday is an open day, and then you have a new episode of The Mandalorian. So that'd be episode 6. So we'll see what happens. Anyway, Baby Yoda is the breakout star of the show, obviously. And again, is not really Yoda. No one knows the name of his alien species. He looks like Yoda. This isn't Baby Yoda. This is different alien. But Baby Yoda is what they're calling him. The merchandise for him will not be available until after Christmas because they wanted to go so far as to keep secret Baby Yoda's presence. But we have seen the Funko Pop that is coming of Baby Yoda, the stuffed animal, the doll, the merchandising, where the real money for the film is made. So that's going to be coming soon. Also, now that I think about this, so there's also a Baby Yoda Frappuccino that you can only get on the Starbucks secret menu. So I guess you have to either, I don't know if you can say, hey, can you get me that Baby Yoda Frappuccino off of your secret menu? Because I don't know how many of the baristas would know about the secret menus and stuff like that. I don't know who knows about that stuff, but this basically, there was a article that I posted on Facebook that has every single like drink on Starbucks's secret menu, and it's just basically you make your decision about what you want. So this gives you what you need to do to make it. So if you want a specific Frappuccino that's not on the menu, it's usually a combination of two of them. So you can say, yeah, I want a caramel Frappuccino with a touch of green Frahaka salt and raspberry, pumps of 2 raspberries and all the stuff you say, like, and that would make the specialized thing for them. So we have that as well for Baby Yoda as well. He's hugely popular right now. Monopoly has released is going to release 2 new games, both of which are diametrically different, but both of which are really interesting. The first one is Miss Monopoly, which the game benefits women playing the game. You know how at the beginning of Monopoly you get a specific amount of money? Well, the women who are playing the game would get more than the men would. And then when you pass go and usually get your 200, the women now get 400 and the men still get 200. So it's a way to balance the scales, as it were, because men, as we all know, get more money and more jobs and more opportunities than women do in business, So they decided to make a game that would benefit the women and to get them to buy it. So it's an interesting concept. The other one's even more interesting. Y'all know when you play Monopoly, it's a long-ass game. It takes a long time because you don't stop playing until someone goes bankrupt, which means they have no properties and no money and nothing like that. And it happens eventually down the road. But if you were interested in a more longer version of Monopoly, go ahead and go out and buy Monopoly: The Longest Game Ever, which is the new board version of Monopoly, where the rule is that the only way to end the game is not by bankruptcy. It's as if one person gets every single property. Remember that you can get properties through trades. You can get them through, trade, not only trading stuff, but also if someone needs money, they can sell you the property. I guess that's considered trading as well. So basically you can trade for all the properties. And you can also, if someone is desperate need of money, you can say, I'll give you this much money for this thing. So we got that. So that is, you have to have every single property. So yeah, that game would take a really long time. But it's interesting if you're into that kind of stuff. So there you go. Netflix will be airing an animated kids version of the movie series Fast and the Furious, which all those words together just sounds really, really odd, but it's an interesting idea, and Netflix has been doing pretty good with their animation stuff. So, and Fast and Furious is one of the most popular film genres or film series out there right now. So why not do something like that? Now we're getting to the meat of the episode, the trailers. Tomorrow, Sunday, the Wonder Woman 1984 trailer for the movie is coming out in June. The full trailer will be released tomorrow. They released a teaser trailer today, which showed some interesting pictures. Wonder Woman looks a lot more like the bright colored uniform wearing Wonder Woman we expect. And then there's a cool sequence where she's fighting a guy with a gun, and she grabs the guy's gun and cocks it, and the bullet pops out and she smacks it away. So that looks pretty cool. So we'll see more of that. Plus, we were supposed to see the first trailer for the new Ghostbusters movie, which now has a title called Ghostbusters Afterlife. And we were supposed to see the trailer sometime this week. We have not seen the trailer yet this week. We've only seen the name, Afterlife. We've seen a picture of a bearded Paul Rudd, and we've seen a sequence where the Ecto-1 is driving through a wheat field or corn or a cornfield or something like that. That's all we've seen so far, heading towards like a cloud, weird thing in the clouds. So we'll know what that's all about. So I'm anticipating possibly that they will drop the Ghostbusters trailer tomorrow as well as the Wonder Woman one. Let me just see if they pop something in here. Just do a real quick perusal. I do not see anything yet. That's something interesting. Kevin Feige says the multiverse is the next step in the evolution of the MCU. So, well, we know that about that with Doctor Strange, stuff like that, and all the stuff that happened in Endgame, creating all these alternate realities. And Yondu might get his own MCU prequel series on Disney Plus, which would be fascinating. Truthfully, I think it would be great. Okay, so yep, I don't see anything else. So we might anticipate that possibly, maybe we will see a trailer. Yeah, it might be time to go see. No, see if there's going to be a trailer pop up. We know the Wonder Woman will at least will be out tomorrow, but the Ghostbusters one is a possibility as well. So those are the teasers. The ones that actually did come out, speaking of the MCU, we finally get our first look at the Black Widow movie. So it looked actually pretty good. Looks action-packed. Looks interesting. Looks like it, as they said it was, takes place after Civil War, and looks like we get to meet Natasha's family. We get to see David Harbour as the Red Guardian, who was a hero from Russia, who they probably made him be a hero maybe in the 80s, maybe, possibly. So it looked really, really good, and it makes me want to go see the film, actually. So I will definitely be there probably opening night, or opening day, I should say. I'll probably take that Friday off work like I usually do, and I'll see that. And they know that I do that at work anyway, so it's not a big surprise. There's also the first look at the new James Bond movie that I think is coming out probably next fall, because James Bond tends to come out in the fall. I could be wrong. They might be releasing it in the summer. I've never been a big James Bond fan anyway, but it looked interesting, and you get the first look at the first female Bond. I mean, not James Bond, but the first 00 female spy in the movie series. So that's pretty good. And you see the bad guy wearing this weird mask, who's played by Freddie Mercury, or I should say the actor who played him in Bohemian Rhapsody. Ricky Malik or something like that. There's a couple of TV shows that have been coming out as well. I'm sorry. Before we do that, the live-action Mulan trailer also came out this week. The first new one. It's supposed to be the live-action version of the cartoon, but they got rid of Mushu the dragon, and they actually added an evil witch character who helps out the bad guy. So we have that as well, and it looks a little bit more different than you expect. I mean, the Beauty and the Beast and the Aladdin ones, and the Lion King and the Lady and the Tramp ones, you expect certain things from those live-action remakes. Mulan's, while you're going to get probably a lot of the same stuff, it looks more like it is an Asian film about a woman trying to live up to her family's honor. So it looks a little bit different from the cartoon, particularly with the witch character. And so that might actually make it be a bit more successful, because it's not going to be a live action rehash of the animated film. So we'll keep an eye out on that one. On the TV end, Stephen King is huge, as always, and always has been huge, but he's had a little bit of resurgence recently. I think this is HBO or someone that's going to be on Hulu or something like that. Something I don't have, I want people to watch. The Outsider which is one of his more recent books, is now become a TV show. So the adaptation of the book is now a TV show starring B.J. Mendelsohn, who was the Skrull in the Captain Marvel movie. And he was also in the Star Wars movies as well. I just don't remember the character he played. I think in the new ones, he was one of the bosses or something like that. So we got that coming on. And actually, this one surprised me as well. I did not even know what this movie was till I saw the trailer, because it had Ryan Reynolds in it. It's called Free Guy, and it's due out on July 3rd. So you're like, okay, that's interesting. I'd never heard of this movie. It's got Ryan Reynolds, and it's in a prime summertime spot. What's it all about? So I watched the trailer, which they released it, and it's going to get a little bit of spoilery, but if you watch the trailer, they basically tell you what it's about. Ryan Reynolds is like this upbeat, cheerful sort of guy, just walking along, and as soon as he leaves his house, he goes out into a world where there's people shooting up cars and superheroes fighting, and he's just walking through the mayhem. A buddy of his gets thrown through a window. He's like, "Oh, you hate Mondays, right?" And he's like, "Yep," and gets right back up like nothing happened. So like, this is kind of weird. So just walking along, a big smile, works at the bank, and while he's working at the bank, it gets robbed numerous times, and he does the same thing. He just falls down and lets them take the money and doesn't even try anything. So something snaps in him, and he eventually decides to try something to stop the bad guy, and ends up killing the bad guy, who has this pair of glasses on, and he puts the glasses on and discovers he's in a video game. And he is a video game character. It's like a Wreck-It Ralph almost, live action version of Wreck-It Ralph, though it looks unique and different. And so he now decides to go from being this guy who's always been in the background to being like the hero type of thing. So it looks fun, it looks interesting, and it actually looks like something I'm going to take a look at when it comes out in July. Now, I probably won't take the day off. I might take the 5th off because July 4th is on a Thursday, unless they give us a 5th off, which is a possibility. That would be very nice. I don't expect it to happen, but it would be nice. Disney Plus also has an original movie. They're doing a movie called Togo, which actually looks really, really cute. It's about sled dogs, and that'll be out later this month, sometime next week or so. It's Jeremy Irons in it as a sled dog runner, and he had a runt sled dogger who becomes his greatest sled dog runner of them all. And then he's got to run like a medicine or transplant or something to a boy, and the only way to get there is through sledding, and there's a blizzard coming. So Jeremy Irons and his runt dog decide that they can do it, and it's an adventure about them. So it looks great, it looks interesting, and it's on Disney Plus. So whenever it comes in, click, I can just go ahead and watch it whenever I want to. There was a TV show also that's going to be on Netflix called Messiah, which looked interesting until I learned what the twist was. But it basically looked like, what if there was a second coming of Jesus? And so it's very current and recent, and what would actually happen if something like that happened. But from what I've heard, spoiler alert, I don't know if this is true or not, but it turns out that this character who is supposed to be playing the coming of Jesus is actually the Antichrist. So I don't know if that's in fact what the case is, or that was just what someone's view is, and we'll find out. But that TV show is coming out, I think, at the beginning of the new year also. So any other trailers? I'm going to see if I'm missing any ones. Well, if there's any other ones, I do not see them right now. So that's it for our trailer dump. As I said, a lot of them, and as I said, looks like there's going to be a bunch tomorrow as well, or at least one that we know of. Speaking of Ryan Reynolds, or switching gears now, speaking of Ryan Reynolds, the actress that's in those Peloton ads, which are now getting a bit of a beating, showing a rail-thin, attractive woman getting a Peloton bike for Christmas and working on it through a year. And she's like, I don't know if I can do this. And the husband's like, I believe in you. And she is trying to lose weight, even though she looks extraordinarily thin. So a lot of people are kind of upset about it and have been making comments about it, and it's been losing Peloton money because it wasn't successful. So the actress has gotten probably a bad rap about it as well. So Ryan Reynolds saw this and reached out to her and said, do you want to kind of make fun of this stuff and be in a commercial for my gin? Remember a while back I told you he owns a gin distillery now. Well, he was able to get her to be in an ad for his gin. And she's basically playing a woman who seems to be shell-shocked about something. We don't know what, but we know it's the same actress in the Peloton thing. And so she talks about how smooth the gin is, and her friends are trying to help her. You just keep drinking, you'll be fine. Everything that's been happening will just brush away and stuff like that. So that's kind of fun that she's able to make fun of herself and the situation she's in as well. They did release another, I just saw one, a Crisis on Infinite Earths trailer. The CW is doing Crisis on Infinite Earths. It actually starts tomorrow and runs through 5 episodes of the CW show. So that might be an interesting thing to look at, because they're actually doing, a mini movie type, 5 shows of the CW, about an hour each. So about a 5-hour, well, technically with commercials, it's probably gonna be 4 some hours, but it's going to be the Crisis on Infinite Earths. It's going to be condensed, obviously, but it'll be fun to see all these actors interacting, and then all these surprise actors I've been telling you about over the last few weeks. So that starts tomorrow. So if you're into that kind of stuff, go ahead and check that out after football if you like. It'll be on 8 o'clock, I believe. It was Krampusnacht on Wednesday or Thursday. So hooray for Krampus. It was the 5th, so it would have been Thursday. But then we apparently shows that Iceland actually has a creature also similar to Krampus called Grilla, which is an Icelandic troll that eats naughty children. Now, for those who don't know what Krampus is a demonic creature that always appeared to be with Santa and would walk with him the night before St. Nicholas Day, which is December 6th. And Krampus, Santa would give all the goodies to the good kids, and Krampus would take all the bad kids, kidnap them, put them in a sack, beat the hell out of them, and then sometimes kill them and send them to hell. That was the German folklore tale, but Krampusnacht has become sort of a holiday that gets celebrated overseas mostly. And there was a horror movie that came out a few years ago about him, and you've seen him in other pop culture, and they're pops and action figures and comics and stuff about him. So, but yeah, Grilla is the Icelandic troll that eats naughty children. So it's their version basically of Krampus, but instead of beating them up with sticks and killing them, he eats them. So if you don't want to celebrate Christmas, celebrate Krampusnacht or Grilla. An alien planet has been discovered orbiting a white dwarf, which is a first because it never happens. Because a white dwarf is basically a dead star. And the fact that a planet is still orbiting it makes scientists think, well, some stars will go supernova and destroy everything, and there'll be nothing left of it. Some are going to have these little mini things and turn into these white dwarfs. So they, I guess, always assume that they would never see any planet around dead stars because most of the time they go supernova. But apparently there's one out there circling a white dwarf. So it's a first for NASA, and it's exciting. So they're taking a look at that as well. There's also been discovered, and I guess this might be the same story. I don't know if it is, but it's just written up differently, that a giant planet has been discovered that's bigger than its star. Now, obviously, this planet that's circling the white dwarf is definitely going to be bigger than its star, but this could be also something else. This could be, like a full-time star, not a white dwarf, but like a real star like the sun, and that there's a planet bigger than the sun, because Jupiter is not bigger than the sun. It's slightly smaller. So the fact that there is one out there that is bigger is kind of interesting. Sad news, an abandoned baby giraffe that was befriended by a dog in Africa has passed away. So I'm sorry to hear that. That's the second kind of really bad news we've had. Um, excuse me. Recently about animals. Last week being the koala bear that was burned all over. So sorry about that. I just found this another trailer that came out this week for another TV show or actually for a movie. It's called Another Version of You. It's out on DVD and on demand and Blu-ray and stuff like that now, and eventually it should be streaming on one of the streaming services. But it's an interesting premise. Another Version of You is basically a guy who has been in love with this woman forever gets dumped by her or something like that, and very soon afterward, he meets a guy who gives him a key. And the key fits any door. And if the guy who got the key, if he opens any door, it'll take him to a different alternate dimension. So like you have a closet door and a bathroom door and a back door and a bedroom door and stuff like that. This key would take you to 4 or 5 different alternate dimensions. So he goes in there and can explore them and come back to his dimension, that type of thing. So of course it's a romantic sort of comedy. So I'm sure he's probably going to fall in love with someone or another version of this woman in another thing, or some weird thing is going to happen. I don't know. We'll see. But that could be pretty interesting as well. Kevin Costner will be writing and producing a new TV show for ABC about the National Park Service. It's a crime drama, so basically it'll be like Law and Order, but in the national park setting. So that'd be kind of cool, and we'll see how that gets made and worked out. George Miller, who directed the Mad Max movies, says that a new Mad Max movie is on its way. It's been a while since the last Mad Max movie that was hugely popular was out, so now it's about time. Which means they'll probably bring Tom Hardy back and maybe Charlize back as well. So we will see. A boy invites his entire kindergarten class to his adoption hearing because he wanted his classmates to experience the same love and joy that he did as well, being adopted. And that's really sweet and wonderful, and I love to see that kind of thing. Rare San Francisco coins have been found in a gold rush era shipwreck. So it's always fun when you find treasure you weren't expecting. Bad news, Willie Nelson has given up weed for his health. So if Willie Nelson can't enjoy weed, how can anyone else? So giving it up for his health. Everyone knows that a Star Wars movie is going to be coming up in 2 weeks, the 20th of December will be the arrival of the last Skywalker Star Wars movie called Rise of the Skywalker or whatever. And so that'll be interesting. So the promotional blitz has been on already. The Mandalorian is going to be affected by that also. Their 5th episode will actually not be airing on, not 5th episode, 7th episode will not be airing on the 20th as usually expected, which is that Friday, because that movie's out. Instead, it'll come out on that Wednesday. Now, a lot of people are now speculating that there's going to be a connection to the Rise of Skywalker. So you have to see this. We don't have to, but it would be a nice little treat for those who watch The Mandalorian to go see Rise of Skywalker and see that little, setup play out. They also say there's going to be a Star Wars sneak peek or whatever on that episode of The Mandalorian as well. So why not use it for promotional purposes? So it's good. So, but the one really neat thing is Coke is going to be sponsoring it, and they have Coke bottles now that light up. So basically you have Rey and you've got Kylo Ren, and Rey has the blue lightsaber and Kylo Ren has the red one. And if you get them, the red lightsaber will light up on the Kylos and the blue one will light up on Ren, I lost her. It's been a long day. So on the good guys. So that's kind of cool. On Rey's lightsaber. So that'd be kind of neat to see that kind of thing. A dad punishes her daughter for helping bring boys into an all-girl sleepover by taking over her social media for 2 weeks. Now, he offered the deal. He offered a deal to his daughter. He said, his punishment, because we told you no boys and you still snuck boys into your all-girl sleepover, you have two choices. One, we take away your phone for a month, I think they said, or for 2 weeks, your mom and dad, us, will take over your social media and you cannot be on it. So at first it's like, oh, only 2 weeks. Yeah, I can handle them just, taking over my social media for a couple weeks. Says, yeah, go ahead and do that. So, as soon as they said that, they went all out. So the parents were doing all kinds of weird, crazy things and posting it to her Instagram and TikTok and stuff like that. And the daughter was just horrified by it. She's like, no, I changed my mind. I changed my mind. I'll take it for a month without the phone. And they're like, nope, too late. We're enjoying ourselves too much. So after the 2 weeks is up, which it has happened, the 2 weeks has already come up, the dad said that he was going to start his own TikTok because he had so much fun doing it. But he did all kinds of stuff to embarrass his daughter, and they won. Yes, Maryland just pulled that one out. They're 10-0 right now, the basketball team. Wow, that must have been a really good game. So that's kind of interesting to see that. So they were enjoying themselves. He was dressing up as a woman, as a girl, as his daughter, and singing and dancing, and got her brother into doing this weird two-step with him, both dressed as women, and just saying embarrassing things about stuff like that. So it was a good choice. I think it was a great idea. There is a golden chamber buried under a mountain in Japan that contains water so pure that it dissolves metal. And they're now also using it to power or use it to look for stuff in outer space. I don't know much about that, but a golden chamber where the water is so pure that it melts metal is really interesting. So dissolves metal, I should say. Actually, pretty fascinating. Round one, this is some local news. Round one is a Dave and Buster's sort of restaurant that will be opening at Towson Town Center. Today was its first day out there. It has arcade games. It's got billiards. It's got what else? Bowling, ice cream, and food. So it's an all-around type of thing. So it could be interesting to see that. But today was literally the first day of that. So congratulations to them. A banana duct taped to a wall by Maurizio Catalin sells for $120,000 at an art auction. That's literally all it is a white board with a banana duct taped on it. And it was sold for $120,000. A banana duct taped to a painting. $120,000. I'm in the wrong business. Teaching kids to swear is a good thing according to science. It helps them understand language better. So go ahead and say fucking damn and shit and cock and pussy and boobs and tits and breasts and all kinds of bad words, and say it all in front of your kids because science says it's good. Speaking of which, Kentucky family court judge had threesomes in her chambers and pressured attorneys for group sex. After 11 o'clock, who's not up for some good sex stuff? That just seems really odd that a judge, just think about it. It could start off as like a porn, the judge is like, I need to see you in my office. And so the judge goes into the office and wearing the black robe and stuff. And then the prosecutor comes in and she's like, close the door and lock it, or lock the door or whatever. And he's like, okay, and says, sit down. And then she whips off her black judge's robe and she's got nothing on underneath, and they end up fucking. there you go. That's similar to kind of what happened. Sounds like porn, but it happened in real life. Since we're on a sex craze now thing, let's do these last two sex stories here. The jelly sex bracelets, which was something I didn't even remember from the early 2000s, has been back in the news recently. It was like, I don't know, just we're getting to the time where, the new one decade is ending, a new decade is starting, so people just start thinking about other stuff as well. So I don't remember this, but there were these wristbands that were jelly, like the bouncy plastic stuff. They were like different colors, and apparently they were the jelly sex bracelets, where each color meant a different sexual act. So if you wanted someone to give you a blowjob, or if you wanted someone to go down on you, or someone to fuck you, or whatever, blowjob might be a red one, and going down might be blue, and fucking might be green, and anal might be yellow, or whatever. You would pull it off and give it to them. They'd have to do it. Now, this is the first I heard of it. I don't even remember. I mean, I was grown up in 2000, and I honestly don't remember jelly sex bracelets. So who knows? Maybe my nephews would, because they were in school around that time. But I don't know. And also, doctors are urged to prescribe masturbation to reduce stress after studies show orgasms can be beneficial. Well, duh, everybody knows that. But now they want it to be medicinal. Yeah, go have sex, or no, go masturbate. It'll help you feel better, and it does, right? You get your, stress, and it makes you feel relaxed, and it's beneficial for you. So is having sex also. This isn't quite sexual, but I figured since it's like the last one on here, and then I can go back to the rest of the stuff. A man created a dating app where he's the only guy on it. So no other guy is allowed to post on it but him. And so all the women just have to check him out, and they either swipe right or left if they want to meet him. So it's kind of ingenious, actually. Everything's focused on you, and it can be like multiple pictures of you. So they'll swipe you left, swipe left, swipe left. And there's different, like, oh, he looks pretty good in that one. Let's swipe right and see what happens. It's the same guy. Christmas Chronicles 2 has been greenlit for next year on Netflix. That was the Kurt Russell Santa Claus movie that came out last year to huge popularity. And people were wishing that a new one would come out this year. Well, it didn't, but it has been greenlit, and a new one will be coming out next year. Kurt Russell will be returning. Goldie Hawn will be playing a bigger role from what I heard. And instead of producing it, Chris Columbus will be directing it. Now, Chris Columbus was the guy who directed the first two Harry Potter movies, who directed Mrs. Doubtfire, who directed Home Alone and Home Alone 2. He directed those as well. He also wrote Gremlins. So he's got, and did he do the Goonies also? And he's done a bunch of movies, and he's just sort of, his career has sort of gone downhill since the Harry Potter stuff. So he hasn't really done much. He did the adaptation of Rent, and that didn't do very well. And he did a few other things as well. So he's been producing a lot more, and he produced the original one, but now he's going to direct this one. And I think that would be good. Maybe this would be a good comeback film for him to come back on. So that'll be out on Netflix next Christmas. So at this time next year, you'll be able to watch it. Where was that? Peter Sarsgaard has been cast in the new Batman movie, and speculation is he'll be playing Harvey Dent Two-Face, because he posted a picture. I forget who his actress wife is, but she was shaving his head, and half of it was bald, half of it was hairy, and his mustache, he had half a mustache, and the other half was clean shaven. So that's where a lot of speculation is that he's going to be playing Two-Face. And looking at the actor himself, Harvey Dent Two-Face, looking at the actor himself, he looks like he could be a really good Harvey Dent. And I wouldn't be surprised if that's who it turns out to be. So good on that. Starburst is releasing their own yogurt. So if you like Starbucks and you like yogurt, go crazy and go ahead and get yourself some Starburst yogurt. That'll be out, may even be out now and about now. Here's a little supernatural stuff for you. Man in Black, they're the guys that they made the movies about with Tommy Lee Jones and Will Smith that, dissuade people from talking about their alien experiences. Well, there's a new wrinkle now recently where a guy was walking along the coastline of Loch Ness. You always, a lot of times, yes, it's beautiful around that time of year, and they're just walking around and get some exercise, but you always want to just walk around, and maybe you'll be that lucky person who'll see the Loch Ness Monster pop up. So that's why a lot of people just go and travel down there. Well, this guy was talking about a weird experience he had where he was just walking along the coastline of the Loch Ness, just checking periodically, see if Loch Ness is out there, just enjoying the outdoors and the walk. And he noticed a guy who seemed out of place. A man dressed all in black was staring at him and not saying anything. And he had a weird looked foreign, looked different than anything he'd ever seen before. And the guy wasn't talking. And so the guy who was walking around was getting kind of nervous. So he just sort of, ignored him. And the guy kept watching him. So he wanted to see if maybe this guy was going to be dangerous. So he pretended to fall and turned to his head to ask if the guy could help him up, see what he would do, and the guy was gone. So weird stuff going on, so we'll see what happens. Baby Foal was born into the Budweiser Clydesdale family. The Budweiser Clydesdales are huge around Super Bowl / Christmas time. You see them periodically show up. Well, there is now a new one just born into the fold who eventually will be one of the ones to lead the group. And don't be surprised if they tack this on to the Super Bowl commercial that they always do. So I wouldn't be surprised if they do that as well. Kansas City is the first city in the United States to offer across the board free transit admission, free public transport admission, meaning you don't have to pay for like the subway, buses. I guess those are the only two public transits I remember. So like buses, I think you still have to pay cabs, obviously, but trains, subways, buses, you don't got to pay. It's free. Now Maryland's tried the free bus thing before, and it seems to be working okay, but there's also buses you have to pay money for still, and then our trains are still not free. You have to pay, a small amount. It's like $3 for a round trip, or for a unlimited ticket for the day, which isn't bad. But, if you can get it for free, and if you can get more cities to do that, it might make things a lot easier for those less fortunate than you who cannot take cars or cannot drive cars, but need to take mass transit to get around, to get to their jobs, to move around, whatever. And it might be beneficial for those older who don't have the money to get them to be able to go out and do things more often. And it might in turn also, those people might say, you know what, if I don't have to pay for a car or whatever, just use mass transit, I'll do that and save money so there's less cars on the road also. So it's a win-win all around. I just don't know how they afford to pay the drivers and the repairs of the trucks and stuff like that. So to be continued, but still, Kansas City is officially the first city in the United States that says universal free public transit fares. You don't have to pay anything to use public transportation. This is a weird story of coincidence, which proves that there are such things as coincidences or fate or karma. Call it fate, call it karma, whatever. But Florida, no, that's something else. I built up that storyline. I'll do that storyline first. I'll do the Florida story in a second. In 1981, a pediatrician saved the life of a 3.2-pound premature baby. He worked around the clock to make sure that he stabilized and the baby stabilized and was able to be taken home eventually and led a happy, healthy life. Fast forward to 2011, which was 30 years later. The same doctor was driving in his car and gets into a car accident. Not his fault, I don't think, where he's trapped in his car and the car is starting to catch fire and is going to explode at any minute. A paramedic who was brought onto the scene with other paramedics, went and just did his job, pulled the guy out, pulled the pediatrician out of the car, and saved his life. And yes, you know how the story's going to go. Turns out that this is the same premature baby that this doctor saved when he was born. Now he's returned the favor by saving his life due to a car accident. So that's kind of a nice story. Now the story, I was going to, that I was building up, that was on this page, that I thought was that story, instead is this one. Florida baby shower. We had a Florida man, we had a Florida woman, and we had, what was the one last week? Was masturbating Florida man was last week. So now we have Florida baby shower. Florida baby shower takes a turn when the couple who is having the shower is opening their presents, and they get a present, I guess, from like their uncle or something like that. They open it up, and it's, you know, a little Einstein's baby bouncer type of thing, and it's in a nice size box, kind of heavy. It's like, oh, that's great, you know. And the guy said, yeah, I got it, you know, Salvation Army, whatever. They said it's in good shape, and all the pieces should be there. They open it up to take a look at it. There ain't no little Einstein's baby bouncer in it. There is actually a Mossberg 71st or 715T semi-automatic rifle inside. And the dad, uncle, whoever bought the prize was like, what the hell is that? And they were just as surprised as anyone else. Is like, what in the world is this weapon of mass destruction doing in a box that's supposed to be for a baby bouncer? So they call the police, and the police come and they check the serial number. Serial number's still there. It's a clean gun. I don't think it belonged to anybody, or the owner isn't on record or whatever. I'm not sure, because they didn't return it to him. So the police confiscated it and just to double check it and clean up whatever. And then they returned it to them a week later. So I guess because they don't know who it belonged to, and now it belonged to them. So I don't know if they kept it or they got rid of it or told the police. I don't know. So that's kind of a weird story. So you had Florida baby shower, Florida masturbating man, Florida man, and Florida woman. So it just keeps getting more and more crazy, doesn't it? Some anniversaries this week. 1980, 80, 90, 2000, 2010, 2020. It's almost 40 years. So it would be 39 years. Oh, is that right? No. 80 to 90, 90 to 2000, 2000 to 10, 2020. Yeah, it's 39 years. Okay, so about 39 years ago, Popeye, the musical, opened with Robin Williams. Fantastic movie. If you haven't seen it yet, it's great. Robert Altman directed it. It's great sets, great music. Robin Williams is fantastic. Shelley Duvall is Olive Oyl. And you get Paul Dooley as a great Wimpy, and just a fantastic cast and a great story. My favorite Martian is Poop Deck Pappy, Ray Walston. So just a really great cast in general. But Shelley Duvall and Robin Williams just steal the show, particularly Shelley Duvall, who looks and sounds exactly like Olive Oyl. Directed by Robert Altman. Flash Gordon, the movie, came out also 39 years ago this week. So they were competing against each other, Popeye and Flash Gordon. It's a cheesy B film that everybody loves due to the Queen soundtrack and just the utter goofiness of the movie. So both of those will be celebrating 40 years next year. So we'll be talking about this again at this time next year, saying, hey, their 40-year anniversary. That means Empire Strikes Back is going to be celebrating its 40th anniversary next year as well. Crazy. You Can't Do That on Television, which was one of my favorite shows growing up, debuted this week in 1981, which makes it 38 years old. So a year after Popeye and Flash Gordon. For those who don't know, it was a Canadian TV show, half-hour long. Each show had a theme: jobs, holidays, school, war, parents, food, animals, and they would do little skits. These young Canadian actors who were my age would do these, silly skits with recurring characters. There was Barth, the guy whose restaurant was like the worst health code violation ever, and everybody ends up puking the food at the end. They get slimed when they say the words "I don't know." If they say water, water gets dumped on them. There's the shooting range, the execution where there's the jokes where some kid is getting ready to get shot and he's talking to the commandant, and that's where the joke is. They had the locker room jokes where it's a bunch of bang 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 jokes that were, all this is, theme is skits about the theme for that week. The parents were weird and crazy, and they had the school work, and they had, the behind the scenes stuff. It was a great show. I love the show, and I wish I could see it again, or at least show my kids, but it's really hard to find it anywhere else. So that was this week as well. And the big one is 35 years ago this week, 1984, which was a huge year for movies because we had a whole bunch of these 35th anniversary ones. And so as we're starting to look back on the end of 2019, the last real big 35th anniversary film is, believe it or not, I thought this originally was a summer film. The sequel was, but this wasn't. Beverly Hills Cop came out in December, which was basically the movie that pretty much cemented Eddie Murphy as a huge star. He had a huge hit with Trading Places, had a huge hit with 48 Hours, but this film is what went boom. It was at the time became the highest grossing R-rated movie of all time, and it stayed that way for a while till Deadpool came and knocked it out. And that was literally it lasted from 1984 to 2014, 15, 16, whenever Deadpool came out originally. And then that's been broken this year also. I talked about this a couple weeks ago, where Joker has now become the highest grossing R-rated movie of all time. And it's going to be really hard to beat that because it has crossed $1 billion. So we'll see what happens about that. But for the time, it was the highest grossing R-rated film of all time. It is a hilarious action comedy. Martin Brest directed it. Eddie Murphy, John Ashton, Judge Reinhold. I forget the guy who plays Bogomil. He was the bad guy in RoboCop, one of the bad guys in RoboCop and Total Recall. I can't remember his name though. But young Paul Reiser was in it. A young Bronson Pinchot, Serge, who was in it for like one scene or two scenes actually, and it's hilarious. And just a great movie in general. And I have a little story to tell. So the movie came out in 1984, which makes me be 11 years old. Now, you would have to think that a year later it would come out on videotape. So 1985 make me 12 years old then. 73, yep. So Beverly Hills Cop was one of the first movies that we ever bought for our VCR, because at that time you didn't really buy movies too much. So they would release certain big hits out in stores, and you'd be able to get them and watch them, but there weren't a lot of them. You weren't able to get every single movie that came out. That didn't happen until later on down the line, when Suncoast Video and stuff like that started becoming a huge thing in the malls, and then gradually Best Buy came and they did it then, and then shifted to DVD. So now every week movies come out every week and you can buy them. So, but back in the 80s, you would have to wait at least a year, and then it would only be like the big movies that would come out that you would be able to buy and have in your video collection. The other movies you could buy, but they would be regular price, which would be at that time $50 to $70, and somewhere even $100, I think. So this was one of the first ones we ever bought for our VCR. And I remember one day I was sick, so I stayed home from school. And I was old enough that my parents would let me, I was 13, so my daughter was the same age as my daughter. Wow. Right, 73, 85, 73, 83, Yeah, I'd be 12. So it was 1 year younger. Anyway, doesn't matter, regardless. So I stayed home from school. Now remember, it's rated R. 18 and older, no, 18 and younger had to have adult present. I was by myself. My parents allowed me to stay home when I was 6. My mom worked, my dad worked, so I stayed by myself. So basically, I would just stay on the couch. I watched TV. Well, I knew where they kept Beverly Hills Cop, and I had never seen it, and I wanted to see it. I figured, hey, this would be the best time for me to sneak a view at an R-rated film. So I found the video, and I set up in the VCR, and I watched it, and I loved it. And that's my Beverly Hills Cop story. So I love that. The sequel's pretty good too. Not as good as the original movie, but it's good. And it's 35 years this week. My friend Gary is watching it right now as we speak, or had been watching it, and now he's not. A couple weeks ago, I said that the country of India was looking for their crashed moon lander, couldn't find it. Well, they found it. So we now know that it has officially crashed, and we know the location of where it crashed, and we are helping them out. You can get paid $38,000 to live in a London townhome and watch 2 golden retrievers. Everybody raise their hand, says, I want to do this. And also, well, I just saw this. I hadn't attached to that. Christmas Vacation, National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, is celebrating its 30th anniversary, 1989, which is another really good year in movies, this week as well. So that's a Christmas classic. Jerry Fletcher, who used to do the top 10 lists on my show when I was able to used to have guests on here. This is considered to be one of her favorite films of all time. And she actually went and saw it when they re-released it in the movie theaters this week. So that's kind of cool. So 30th anniversary of National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation as well. A third pyramid has been discovered in the Antarctic. I didn't know that. I knew there had been one discovered, but I didn't know there was at least 2 other ones. So a third pyramid has been discovered in Antarctica with climate change happening and the ice melting in both Antarctica and North Pole. Things are starting to get revealed that weren't there before. You wouldn't be able to know that there were pyramids under all that ice and snow. Well, now there are. And now that has thrown a whole nother ball of wax and things like, how the hell did these get here then? Had this place always been frozen, or was it just the way it was? So, or was it an alien base? We don't know. Speaking of aliens, Agent Dana Scully of the X-Files is now getting her own Barbie doll. It's just like the generic term for a fashion doll. So she actually has her own fashion doll with her, clothes and handbag and gun and stuff like that. So that's pretty cool. I'm a Reese's lover. Target loves us as well. So for the holidays, they're releasing the Reese's Lover Holiday Gift Box. I do not know what's in it, but I want one. So if everyone wants to get me anything for Christmas, that would probably be the best thing to do. This started off as a joke in Spaceballs, which also I think celebrated its 30th anniversary this year, earlier this summer, though. This was a joke, but has now become real life. In India, they are testing this out. You can now buy bottled fresh air. That was the main gist behind the movie Spaceballs, but now it has become reality. Weird. Gorillas are, again, more like us than people expect, because people who have studied gorillas discover that they hum their own little gorilla songs when they eat. So they're like, so they're humming their own song, their own gorilla eating song. So that's kind of fascinating that something like that could happen as well. Oreo's been doing these mystery flavor things where you could win like $20,000 if you guess the correct thing. I tried the newest one this year. It was actually pretty good. It was kind of a gingerbready sort of taste. That's what it tastes like to me. So I thought it was like some sort of gingerbread one. Nope. Turned out it was churro, the Mexican sort of donut pastry type of thing with powdered sugar. That was the flavor. It was churro flavored ones, and they are now officially been named. No longer the mystery ones. They are now the churro Oreos are now available. A college student turns her closet into a festive bedroom for her dog. Got a little Christmas tree and a little bed with Christmas stuff on it and stuff like that, and little Christmas lights in there, and it was kind of cute. A bear, didn't know this. This is something I wish they taught us in history when I was going for my degree. There's actually was a bear that helped the Polish soldiers fight Nazis during World War II. So that must be a fascinating story. I didn't read the article, but just the headline alone is like, wow, they got a baby a bear of some kind to help them go through these Nazi soldiers. Is like, that's freaking awesome. I love that. Adam Sandler is in the running for a Best Picture, or I'm sorry, Best Actor nomination. He's already been nominated for a few of the Critics Awards that have already been announced so far. And Adam Sandler has decided, and I'm betting this is more tongue-in-cheek because this is ridiculous and it seems very egotistical. This is true. Adam Sandler said that he would purposely, or threatens to purposely, make a bad movie if he does not win the Oscar for his movie Uncut Gems. Now, people are joking that, well, most of your movies are really, really bad anyway, so what would be the difference? In this case, he would be literally trying to make a bad movie, and you don't want to have that sort of ill will, because when Eddie Murphy was first nominated for his first Oscar way back when for that musical, I forget what it was called, and he had been winning all the other awards, and he got to the Oscars and he didn't win. He left the Oscars and didn't come back. So and that was early on because the supporting actor roles were in Dreamgirls. That's what it was. The supporting actor roles, or the awards, are done early in the show. So when he didn't win, he left. He was pissed. So, but there's talk once again. His Dolomite Is My Name has been getting a lot of critical love, as well as has Eddie. So we could very well see, when the Oscars get announced in January, and Eddie Murphy, Adam Sandler, Joaquin Phoenix, and then you could throw maybe Leonardo DiCaprio in there for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and Joaquin for Joker, obviously, and could be any other actor right there. I don't know who else it would be right now as your 5 Best Actor nominees, and that would be quite an interesting group if you can get them all together. So that'd be kind of interesting to see that, if that does indeed turn out to happen. But I'm hoping that Adam Sandler was being tongue-in-cheek, because that just seems egotistical. It's like, well, if I don't win the Oscar, I'm going to make a bad movie on purpose. Doesn't sound like good anything. A wearable Christmas tree is now available at Amazon, but they are warning that it's going to be hard for you to walk around, because where you put your feet, they are Christmas presents, and it's going to be a little bit harder to walk with these type of Christmas present things. There could be a French fry shortage coming next year due to poor potato farms and the tariff war and all that BS going on that I'm not going to talk about right now. So keep that in mind, that we might not be able to enjoy our French fries next year because there'll be a shortage of them, or we'll be able to get a very rare amount to do it. A gay couple has their engagement photo shoot at Target, and it's hilarious. If you haven't seen it yet, it looks phenomenal and fun. Looks kind of fun. The holidays are upon us, and what do a lot of people think about when they think about the holidays? They think about drinking because of the pressure, the stress, and the family and stuff like that. Well, there are a couple of holiday drinks you might be interested in. I'm sure if you type these names into your search engine, they'll tell you how to make them. You have the mistletoe margarita and the sugar cookie martini. So for your Christmas party coming up, just type those into your search engine. You'll be able to probably find some recipe in there, and might be able to have something good to drink. States are moving to add more Native American history to their schooling, to their curriculum. So, that would be great. I wish I could have taken a Native American history course. They didn't offer it when I went to college or high school. So I've been reading some books that were written about Native American history, and they're fascinating. So I'm glad to see that, and hopefully it'll become something regular down the line. The haunted Waverly Hills Santa Sanitarium, which has been a spot for ghost hunters and ghost adventurers, and they've gotten these crazy, disembodied spirits. And actually, I think the ghost hunters actually got on their infrared. They actually had somebody walk across the hallway, and there was nobody there. A ghost, they were able to get on that. Well, it's a haunted spot. It's decorated for Halloween, but it is haunted. It's an old sanitarium. And this is where it's funny. So you're expecting it to be like they do it for Halloween. They make it to a haunted house. It's already haunted. People investigate over and over. They've seen ghosts. They've recorded ghosts there. It is haunted. Well, they decide, we want to change our image a little bit. So they are doing a family-friendly Christmas event at the haunted Waverly Hills Sanitarium. So, hey, spend Christmas with ghosts. Why not? I don't know. This is some local news also, and a little bit of stuff. I'm feeling really good about my Baltimore Ravens football team. I'm also very skeptical, and I keep saying that if I get too excited, they're going to end up losing, and things are going to go downhill. They play the Buffalo Bills tomorrow in Buffalo. If the Ravens win that game, they are in the playoffs no matter what. They could lose all the rest of their games. They would still get into the playoffs. If the Ravens win their game and the Steelers lose their game to the Cardinals, the Ravens now will become the division champions. And no matter what happens, they cannot be removed as division champions if that happens. So we will see if that happens. I don't think it will. I think the Steelers are going to win tomorrow, but I also think the Ravens are going to win. So I think they're going to make it into the playoffs at least. So and then they have that quick turnaround, but luckily it's at home against the Jets, who are not very good. And hopefully it's not going to be a quick 1-2. So they're playing 2 games within 7 days. Well, most teams do anyway, but I guess within 5 days, let's say that. And then they have off for 10 days before they finish up the schedule against their divisional opponents at Cleveland and at home against Pittsburgh. So we'll see what happens. So I'm excited about my team. I'm going to be watching the game tomorrow at 1 o'clock. We're not going to be really doing anything. I put up the Christmas tree today, did some outdoor stuff, put some other things up. I might do some stuff early in the morning and maybe after the game. But right now, the game is what I really want to watch. So I'll be doing that tomorrow. But to show the excitement is spreading all over the place. People are talking about our quarterback, Lamar Jackson. He's in the MVP talk. People are buying his uniform. He had the most of any player's equipment bought. So not just uniforms, but other stuff with Lamar's name on it, T-shirts, stuff like that, were more than any player, even though Tom Brady had more jerseys bought during the Black Friday stuff. Lamar Jackson had more stuff bought for him. So he's a hot ticket right now. We have an Archbishop Curley, I think his name is, who went to visit the Pope this week, and he decided to bring a special gift for the Pope. It was a Ravens jersey with Lamar's number 8 on it, but instead of Lamar's name, it was Pope's name on the back, Pope Francis's name on the back. Now, the Pope probably doesn't know what the heck football is, so he just was just happy to receive it and thought it was really neat. Maybe he knows a little bit about it, but I think he's a soccer fan, a real football fan. So there's pictures of him with a Ravens jersey. So the Pope has a Ravens jersey with his name on it in the Vatican right now. So that's pretty cool. Lock and Key, I never got around to reading the comic. I always wanted to. It's written by Joe Hill, which is Stephen King's son, and drawn by Gabriel Rodriguez. Became a huge hit, hugely popular comic. Well, it is now going to be a Netflix series, and it is the first season will be coming out on February 7th. So I read the description of it. It sounds interesting. We'll probably be getting a trailer momentarily. Maybe not maybe this week. Maybe we'll get one this week. Who knows? Because they just announced this date today, or this week rather, I should say, for February 7th debut. So we'll see what happens with that. But I'll be definitely keeping an eye on that. Now, the last story, let's make sure that there is no other story I'm missing here. Kind of like last week where I mixed the Cal Matrix. Nope, I think I got everything. The last story we'll be talking about this week is there is an actual item called the Birthie Stick. You have the selfie stick where you take a picture of yourself with your phone. Well, now you have the Birthie Stick where you can actually, your first picture of your baby could be as it comes out of your wife's vagina, because you have the Birthie Stick. That would make a really interesting Christmas present to a pregnant person. Better than a rifle. That's it for today's Dylan Knows. Thank you for watching. It's a quick one, just before midnight. Still got in on the same day. As I said, next week, more than likely, this show will be on Sunday, probably Sunday afternoon, since the Ravens are not playing, since they're playing Thursday night. So I will probably be doing the show on Sunday afternoon next weekend, which will be 10 days before Christmas. But now, don't worry, we've got 18 days before Christmas. So you still got time. 2 presents for the kids are coming in tomorrow via Amazon. I got a couple gifts from my wife. My wife has already got some gifts for the kids. So we've got a few things going on, and we're going to have to get some stuff out to our family and stuff like that soon. But we're working things out, and we'll get it done. So do that. Enjoy your week. It's going to be a busy week, as I said, for me. My kids' winter concert. My daughter turns 13 week. There's a storm coming. Big rainstorm is going to hit the eastern seaboard Monday and Tuesday, dropping up to 2 inches of rain on us, which is just wonderful. But the temperatures are going to be like in the 60s. And then just like that, because that happens on the East Coast, Wednesday is going to drop from 60 to 30 degrees within a span of a few hours, and there's going to be snow on the tail end of this rainstorm. So I'll tell you all about that next week if it does indeed happen. We will see what happens then. We'll see by this time next week, the Ravens would have played 2 games and a better idea of where they will be in the playoff scheme of things. So a lot of stuff coming up in the next 7 days. Actually, it'll be 8 days since I'm going to be doing it on Sunday. Thank you for watching and enjoy yourself. And hey, if you get a second, wish my daughter a happy 13th birthday on December 12th. All right. Love you all. Thanks for watching and enjoy yourself. Christmas, 18 days away. Next time you see me, it'll only be 10 days away. Cheers.